live the life of the rich, this woman dumped her poor boyfriend and threw herself into the arms of a billionaire over 70. She thought he was old and running out of time. At most, she figured she'd only have to wait 3 years before he passed away, and then, as his wife, she could naturally take over all his assets. But she never expected that this plan to outlive the billionaire would drag on for a full 5 years. For 5 years, she played the role of a gentle, caring little wife, asking after him every day and serving him tea and water. But what crushed her was that the billionaire's health didn't decline at all. Instead, he got stronger and stronger. Anxiety and despair swallowed her like a tidal wave. 5 years of her youth had been wasted, and she couldn't wait anymore. If fate wouldn't let him die naturally, then she would send him on his way herself. So she secretly planned what she thought was the perfect murder. That morning, she prepared breakfast for the billionaire like usual. When he wasn't paying attention, she poured an entire packet of white powder into the egg-fried rice. Then she stirred it again and again until every grain of rice was coated in poison. She took a deep breath, carried the plate, and walked into the living room. "Eat first." "You're not eating?" "I'm not eating. I have an appointment at the yoga studio." At that moment, the billionaire had no guard up around this gentle, caring wife. After 5 years together, he had long gotten used to her looking after him. He picked up the spoon and slowly ate every bite of that plate of egg-fried rice, hiding her murderous intent. The woman forced herself to stay calm and walked out. But the moment she stepped outside, panic started growing wildly inside her. She was terrified the plan would fail, terrified that 5 years of scheming would all be for nothing. That overwhelming fear made it impossible for her to leave, so she immediately turned back. "Why are you back?" "Oh, I forgot my membership card." When the billionaire turned around, she saw that half the egg-fried rice on the table had already been eaten. Only then did her hanging heart finally settle a little, and she forced herself to leave again. But while she was driving to the yoga studio, a sudden wave of nausea hit her hard. Her stomach churned, and the woman felt like she'd been struck by lightning. Thinking back to how she had been feeling nauseous for days, an intense sixth sense made her realize at once that this was definitely not ordinary discomfort. Like a madwoman, she slammed on the brakes and rushed into a roadside pharmacy, trembling as she bought a pregnancy test. She hid in the bathroom and stared at the 2 clear, glaring red lines on the test. The woman froze completely. It felt like a bolt from the blue. She was pregnant, and the baby was the billionaire's. But just moments ago, she had poisoned the child's father with her own hands. In an instant, massive regret and fear drowned her. At that moment, she had only one thought in her mind. Fix this. She couldn't let her child be born without a father. So she rushed out of the yoga studio like she'd lost her mind and drove home as fast as she could, crying her eyes out while speeding, praying nonstop that the billionaire was still alive and that there was still time. But heaven never gives evil people a second chance. When she stumbled through the front door, the scene in front of her broke her heart. The billionaire was lying stiffly on the bed, no longer breathing. "Tiancheng! Tiancheng, wake up! Tiancheng, please wake up!" After a long while, she finally called emergency services in a panic, pretending to be a terrified wife, and had the billionaire rushed to the hospital for treatment. After hearing the news, the billionaire's son rushed to the hospital immediately. Looking at this gold-digging woman in front of him, there wasn't a trace of grief in his eyes, only bone-chilling coldness and anger. He had known for a long time that this woman wasn't truly trying to build a life with his father, and he had warned his father many times. But his father never believed him. He had just gone to his father's office yesterday. The day before, his father was still healthy and full of energy. How could he suddenly die for no reason? "Tell me, my dad was perfectly fine yesterday. How did he end up in the hospital today? Who told you he was brought to the hospital?" "Attorney Wang, what's going on? You've been watching me, haven't you?" "Watching you? What's wrong?" "You've been watching me. What right do you have to spy on me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you trying to hurt me? Why?" Not only did the woman feel no guilt at all, she even shamelessly turned the blame back on them, pretending to be the wronged victim in an attempt to get away with it. Just then, the doors to the emergency room opened, and the doctor walked out with a serious expression. "I'm very sorry. We did everything we could. When the patient was brought in, there were no signs of life. He died suddenly from heart disease." This result caught the woman off guard, but it also let the heart that had been stuck in her throat finally drop for the moment. But just as she was about to sign the death certificate, the billionaire's son rushed forward and knocked the papers hard to the floor. "I'm telling you, something is wrong here. Something is seriously wrong. I'm calling the police and I want an autopsy." Those words exploded over the woman's head like thunder. The heart she had just put down instantly jumped back into her throat. She tried desperately to stop it, but she couldn't beat the son's insistence. The police got involved, and the medical examiner officially began the autopsy. But unexpectedly, the medical examiner's final conclusion was exactly the same as the hospital's judgment. The autopsy report is out. The death was caused by functional failure, which made the heart lose its effective contractions and led to sudden death. What does that mean? It means sudden cardiac death from coronary heart disease. It's considered a natural death. With the official conclusion right in front of her, the woman's nerves, tense for countless days, finally relaxed completely. A smug look she could barely hide appeared on her face. At that moment, the billionaire's son still firmly believed there was more to the story, so he turned around and filed a lawsuit in court. But unexpectedly, he happened to run into the woman, who had hurried over to divide the inheritance. She was already imagining her future life of luxury, thinking she was brilliant and had fooled everyone. But what she didn't know was that justice is always watching. Good and evil both get what they deserve. What she thought was a flawless plan looked like a ridiculous mess full of holes to the officers of Criminal Investigation Unit 9. Something's not right here. A few days later, just as the woman was happily waiting to inherit the billionaire's fortune, a rapid knock suddenly sounded at the door. The lead officer stared sharply into the woman's panicked eyes. "Ms. Chen, I need to ask you a few questions."